Hey, what's going on? My name is Aaron Martinez, and I want you to copy my entire content strategy because if you do, I can 99% guarantee you that it will blow up your business in 2025 and beyond. That's an ugly five, but 2025 and beyond. Why can I say that? Why can I make such a bold claim like that, right? I've been doing this for 18 years, guys. I didn't start a YouTube channel 3 weeks ago and then, hey, I'm a YouTube coach now. I didn't start it a year ago or 2 years ago. It's been 18 years of trying, testing through ups and downs, short form, long form, literally anything that you can think of. I've done it when it comes to content. So what we're going to do through this whole video, you can see this is very dense, but again, just stick with me and I promise you will get at least one thing out of here that will make you a ton of money within your business, coach, consultant, agency, things like that. So first things first, what is this video not going to be, right? What am I not going to focus on in this video? Well, I'm not going to talk about and focus on getting millions of views that don't actually turn into anything. I don't really care about that. I also don't care about gaining hundreds of thousands of followers, right? Numbers and vanity metrics that don't really do anything to make your life better. I also don't care about, and this video is not going to be about, chasing likes and dopamine. Get all that crossed out. I don't care about those things. I want these things to actually make an impact into your life and in your business. So what this video is going to be is a couple things. This is going to be a video around how to build an audience of buyers, people that actively want to buy your thing, how you can get more out of your advertising. So if you're currently running ads, this is something where 50% of our clients, and I think we brought in about 130 clients last month, high ticket clients, is around 50% of them went through some sort of content that we have. So it's a very impactful thing that you can implement in your business. Also, how to be intentional with your content, right? How do you be intentional so that you're not just posting randomly on social media, right? How to future proof your business. The thing is, we're in this trust recession, as people calling it, right? If you don't create content, what happens when you turn off your ads? Ask yourself this question. If you turn off your ads today, is your business still going to generate people? The answer is no. It's kind of scary, and you probably want to stick around. And also, how to pre-handle any and all objections through your content, because that's really what content does, is it warms up your people, it gets them engaged, and it builds up the authority so that you can down the road showcase how you can help solve their problem. So again, we have a lot of stuff that we're going to cover, but I do want to kind of give a step-by-step of like what we're going to cover and what you should kind of look forward to when we're doing this. So first things first, I'm going to go through this super quickly. Just talking about like my own results through these specific strategies, and then also like clients that this has worked for as well. Because I want you to understand, like this isn't something that I've just done 2 times by myself and got lucky, right? This happens over and over again. We're going to go over why content is mandatory in 2025. So I kind of mentioned some of that already, but we'll cover that. We're going to talk about the old way versus the new way of ads and content and how those two fits together, because things that worked even 6 months ago are not really effective. And trust me, we spent a lot on ads. So I've seen the internals of a lot of how this has affected the market. Also, we're going to talk about the exact Instagram and YouTube content systems that generate these buyers, right? There's differences of content that generate views, but also types of content that generate buyers. We're going to talk about the indoctrination sequence. I honestly haven't even talked about this publicly at all, but how you can strategically turn these people from viewers into buyers. And last but not least, we're going to talk about how to turn the viewers into conversations on Instagram using these specific strategies, and then also with the help of AI, which again, I haven't talked about before, but we're using AI right now in a really, really kind of sneaky way that's actually changing the game. So if you want a full-on document of just kind of like something you can follow along with and take away and start implementing with checklists and all that kind of stuff, you can actually DM me the word content doc over on Instagram. So just go search up on Instagram, Aaron Makes Content. Send me this doc, and automation will send you over this whole document that you can follow along with this entire strategy. So first things first is I wanted to break down, we had this account that we were able to do $103,000 in 90 days with a small Instagram account, right? I highlight this 1,700 because I want you guys to understand that you don't need millions of followers or even tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers to generate dollars from your content, right? There's this big misconception in the space, right? I think it's a lot of times with like influencers and stuff, but I know influencers that have millions of followers and subscribers, and they don't really generate anything from their content. So we've just done it in a very strategic way. The same strategy we've actually implemented within our YouTube channel. Now, don't get me wrong, that we have more followers here, but we generated $4.1 million generated from just 41,000 subs. So you can, like, if your goal is just to make an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month, or heck, even $100,000 a month, you can 100% do this with a relatively small following on YouTube. If you wanted to do that, right? And then also 96,000 in 30 days with this account. Again, relatively small, but we were about sub 5K followers when we hit this 96K. It was just through a couple of videos that blew up. blew up over a good amount of time, and still from this account today, I mean, we'll still generate an extra $20,000 to $50,000 depending on the post, depending on what goes viral, about $20,000 to $50,000 extra per month from 13,000 followers. So not bad. And I'll just throw this in here really quickly. I mean, we have obviously I've done it for myself, but we've also implemented some of these similar strategies for Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, or Cardone Ventures specifically, Dean Graziosi, Rich Sheffer, Frank Kern. We have worked with Rich Sheffer, but this is Frank Kern, Ryan Serhant, Brooke Castillo, among a ton of other people as well. So you can take a screenshot. You can stop here if you want to. I just like to build that credibility so you know exactly who we've been able to work with, and we haven't just done it ourselves. We haven't just done it one time. So all that stuff out of the way, let's get into the actual meat and potatoes of this video. So let's talk about this right here. And this is the main reason why content is important, and that is this thing called the buy zone triangle. So what you need to understand here is the reason content is important is people are only going to buy your things, right? Buy your stuff, buy your product, your service, or whatever it may be. They're only going to be and buy from you if you are selling them and they trust in a couple things here. If they sell, or you can sell them and trust in you as a person, right? They need to be sold on you, your specific method of doing something. And they also need to be sold on your product, right? So what this means is you is the easiest one to understand, because as long as you're creating content, you're consistent. Like, people are watching your videos and they're building trust with you, right? You watching this video and sitting here with me for like an hour, I mean, you're building some sort of trust because I'm telling you and showing you exactly how to build content systems, right? So you're at least building a little bit of trust. Also, the method, right? The method of reaching the end goal. So there's a couple different examples here, right? Let's say you are you're a business coach, or let's say you're in the biz op space, so business opportunity. And let's say your specific method is, let's say, drop shipping. We'll say drop shipping. Right? Let's say drop shipping is your specific method. What does the person want? The person doesn't like that. That's on the other side. They don't necessarily care that you're doing drop shipping, but what they do care is the end result of whatever it is, right? So it could be making more money. It could be quitting the 9 to 5, right? Whatever it is. So it doesn't necessarily, like, the method doesn't necessarily matter, but what you're trying to do is sell them on your method is the fastest, easiest, and most efficient way to get to their end result, right? And the only way that you can really do that is through content, is through the exposure and the teaching and educating them as to why it is the best thing. And also, why, affiliate marketing is outdated, why, all these different things. Like, that's probably the most, used thing in the biz ops space is, don't do these things, do my thing instead, right? We did it with our remote closing offer. Is remote closing is the best way to make money because X, Y, and Z. Don't do drop shipping, don't do affiliate marketing, don't do any of these things, right? So you're consistently needing to sell them on the method, and then also the product, right? The product is basically, what is it like to work with you? Is it a course? Is it one-on-one, right? What is the specific product? Now, here's the thing that's very important is usually what happens if you're using like a traditional way of creating this content, or I'm sorry, converting these people, is you have one of two different ways. You can either, let's say it's through an ad into a VSL, for example, is what happens is the VSL is doing the sell on you and the method and the product. The only thing that's happening though is, and we'll talk about this here in a second, is the VSLs are don't get me wrong, they still work, but they're not selling on you, the method and the product, as well as they used to, right? They're just not as effective. So how do we get them more sold on these things? Well, of course, you're here on the video, we sell them through creating more consistent content. Now, here's the thing, is if you can, through the VSL, right, and through creating consistent content, if you can pre-sell them on the method and you, and then, the call is they're just being sold in the product, this makes your job, let's say, if we're using 33%, right? This makes your job 66% easier than trying to make all of these sales on a sales call. Because by the way, guess what happens is if someone jumps on a sales call with you and you're trying to sell them on you and the method and the product, well, guess what? They're going to be super resistant to that because they're assuming that you as the salesperson is going to say whatever you need to say in order to sell them on those things. Versus a lot of times, again, when they're coming through content, when they're being indoctrinated, they're going to be a lot more sold. So what I put here is kind of like you want to almost look at this as a graph, right? A cold prospect usually, let's say, is through an advertisement, right? And even like a VSL. What's going to happen is they are coming in, and this is the sales process, right? From cold prospect to client, is they're basically going to come into the system right about here, So what happens is they have all of this way that they need to build in terms of that trust in order to come in on as a client. So this is something that you've probably even noticed, whether it's you or your sales team. Maybe your sales team is complaining about bad leads or low quality, or they're too soon in the process, right? That could be the case, and a lot of times it is the case. It's just they're not ready to buy. But if you can strategically create content, like I said a second ago, if you can strategically create YouTube videos and Instagram content that is, this is placing around here and this is placing around here, and you have, a podcast, which is, basically another YouTube style video, right? It's not necessarily a different platform, but you're strategically doing these videos. Guess what? By the time they come on the sales call here, but they've already consumed all this content and they're coming into the sales call here, look how much less space there is to get them on the call. And a lot of times they're already, they're literally right up against the line. They just need to ask you, what's the engagement, right? How long is that? How long do they get to work with you? And then what's the price point, right? So would you rather talk to someone where you have to do all this heavy selling and long discovery and multiple calls? Do you want to talk to those people? Or do you want to talk to people that are literally getting on these calls with you? They're 15 minutes. They're asking you how much the price is, right? How much is the investment? And they're just investing with you. How much easier would that make your life? Well, we're going to talk about exactly how to get those people through that process. So let me just give you a high level, and I kind of talked about this already, right? I'm not going to say this is the wrong way to do it and this doesn't necessarily work, but obviously I put here why this no work no more. But so let me just break this through. So the traditional way, right, what we're usually used to is people come through an ad and they opt into the page, and then they watch this VSL and they book a call and they become a client, right? This worked back in 2021, 2022 pretty effectively. Don't get me wrong, it still works now, just not as high as it could. And not as high as it could with some of the strategies that we're going to talk about here in a second. So what are some of the reasons why this doesn't work as effectively as it used to? Well, number one is our ad costs are rising, right? There's more people coming into place. Everyone is stealing from each other, which means everything looks the same, which makes things get more complex, right? The ads rise in cost. Opt-ins, people are just more aware of the market. So people know what's happening, right? They know that they're putting their information in. They're going to give you fake email, fake phone number because they don't want to be called. They know they're going to be outbound dialed as soon as they put in their information. They just have become more aware, right? VSLs, they're still solid that I put here, but again, people know what's happening. They understand this process. So they're a lot less likely to sit through a 20 to 30 minute VSL because they know what's happening as they're being sold to, right? They're just literally waiting to get an inbound call from them, right? And then also the booking calls, right? Booking rates, show rates, and close rates are down. Right? You're lucky to get a 50% show rate these days through ads because they're just not sold, right? They don't trust most people, right? If you're an online person that's running ads, people are just more likely to not trust you or trust me or trust anyone that's in the online space, right? So what is the solution to that, right? Where are some of the best clients coming from? I did an analysis through our funnels, and I talked about it a second ago in the in the intro, but 50% of our clients actually followed this very specific structure, this very specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Not timeline. They follow this specific path, right? This client journey, or I guess potential client journey. And what happened is people were still doing the things that I was talking about at the top, right? They're still going through ads and opt-in and the VSL, and they are still following that. But what happens is they leave this VSL early, and now they're doing their own research, right? People have gotten really smart, and they're going and they're following an Instagram, right? The ad is connected to an Instagram page. So they just click the Instagram page and they go into the Instagram, right? They look through the Instagram, and then guess what? They're scrolling around through content. And then, they go through and it's like, oh, link in bio, there's a YouTube video or a YouTube channel. And then, they start binge watching these YouTube videos. They come back to Instagram, and then finally they come to the IG DMs, they book a call, and then they become a client, right? This is the new way. And again, 50% of, I can look in our back end of Hyros, is I can tell that 50% of people, 50% on one side, right? They just went through and this was enough for them and they became a client, or at least they booked the call, right? But the other 50% went through this entire system, and you can see kind of where I'm going with this. If you aren't consistent on Instagram and you aren't consistent on YouTube, what do you think's happening? Well, what's going to happen is they're going to these places, they're searching your name, right? They're searching Aaron Martinez, they're searching whatever your brand name is, and guess what? Nothing comes up. That's a massive red flag, right? But then guess what happens is you're paying for this traffic, but then they're going to YouTube and someone else is creating a video about it. Someone else is educating them on it. And guess what? They're going to go to them. Like you might have seen this, and you might, I've heard a lot of clients say this and people in the space, they're like, oh, Aaron, people are going with my competitors, but their product sucks. Well, it doesn't matter if their product sucks. They're just better at indoctrinating the audience, and they're then buying into that person because of the person more than they are the offer itself. And don't get me wrong, the offer itself is very important, but this is just the reality of what we're doing, and it's only going to get worse. Right? As more and more people are coming into the market, as financial times get scarier, as tariffs keep getting implemented, and politically things are happening, and the stock market and all this kind of stuff this leads to uncertainty. So how do we create more certainty? And that's by indoctrinating these people and helping them understand and giving them the idea, or giving them the information that they need to, in order to make the educated decision that you are the best person to help them go from where they are to where they want to be. So with that being said, let me just give you a high level, and we'll talk about exactly how to implement this here in a little bit. But this is pretty much from, if we're looking at the ad side, this is really like how everything comes together, right? How do we indoctrinate these people? How do we get them, to take these desired actions? Well, what happens is we do things in a very strategic way, right? YouTube and Instagram, we're consistently posting. If we're talking about times that we're posting, right? Instagram is anywhere from 5 to 7 times. 7 times per week. YouTube is about 1 to 2 times per week. And guys, this is very, very, very important. Is whatever schedule, heck, maybe this is even like just 3 times a week, right? And maybe this is like 2 times a month, right? I don't care really what the content frequency is. What I do care about, though, is that you were consistent with it. Because here's what's going to happen, is back to what we talked about, is when people are going through these ads, they're going to go back to your page and just see how consistent you are. And if they go back to your page and the last time you posted was 9 months ago, well, they just don't think that you're active or that you even care about providing this value for people. So they're just going to go on to the next person, right? So I want you to look at it as that. And then also what happens is every single time that you post here and every single time that you post here is you are giving yourself the opportunity and at least the chance to show up in ranked and in search and in the browse pages of these platforms, and it gives you the opportunity to get in front of a brand new audience, right? For example, if I was to say, hey, John or whoever's watching this video, right? I'm going to give you this basketball, and you can shoot the hoop into this, into this basket, and let's say it's a full court shot, and I'm going to give you 100 tries to make it in there. And if you make that basket, that sounds so boomer. If you make the if you make the shot, one of them, I'll give you $1 million. How many of those shots are you gonna shoot? You're gonna shoot every single one of those shots. Why? Because it's just at some point one of them is just bound to go in, right? The probability of that is so high, right? Or maybe it's not high, but it's great. It's a good probability out of 100 shots. So you just got to shoot one. That's the exact same way you got to look at content. Is, are you going to make every single shot? Is every single video going to go viral? No, but it doesn't matter. What matters is you make enough shots to give yourself the probability that at least one of them is going to go viral, right? At least one of them is going to perform. And on the other side of it could very well be $1 million. Right? Based on some, like you've heard the stories all the time, is people have just like their lives have been changed from their content, right? And some of these posts going viral, and it's happened to me multiple times. So anyway, we post consistently on these platforms. We have organic reach that is building both of these, right? Building the Instagram, building the YouTube, and then we have paid ads, which we'll talk about here in a second, of the types of ads that we use. But paid ads are constantly going into building the Instagram and bringing more people there. So what starts to happen is this like flywheel effect. I've heard people use that word, right? This flywheel of we're consistently bringing people into Instagram, we're consistently creating content, which is then igniting those people and getting in front of those people. And then from strategically having a link in bio and, someone in the calls to actions to the DMs on the Instagram bio, is we are then pushing people down the pipeline, right? So if they come to the link in bio, our link in bio is always a book a call. So they're coming in, they're going to have the opportunity to book a call, either with myself or from a closer, right? From someone from our sales team. And then from that booked call, they're going to have that conversation, and potentially a percentage of them, right? For us, about 22% plus, right? We have a little bit of a higher price point offer, which is fine if we were only closing at 22%. But 22% of these people that are booking the calls and we're having the calls with are going to turn into a buyer. The other way that we do it is, again, we have CTAs, so people coming into the DMs. These are going to be handled either from an AI or a DM setter, right? So someone in the DMs that's like having those conversations or qualifying them, their job is to book more calls to then book the calls and then bring them to turn into a buyer. Same thing on YouTube, right? I was talking to this guy that came in as a client. We're gonna help him crush it. He's like, Aaron, I have 30,000 people on YouTube. I have this amount of thousand on LinkedIn, and 20,000 people watch my podcast. And I was like, well, how many people are turning into clients? He's like, well, dude, I don't know. That's a problem, right? So I was like, dude, just take this system and it's gonna work for you. Like it's inevitable because you already have the eyeballs that are there. So with YouTube, very similar, is YouTube will do CTAs that actually lead into the Instagram DMs, and this is important because YouTube, it is a little bit harder to like have ongoing conversations with someone because if you're watching this video, if we're not talking in the DMs, like the only way that I can contact you, there's no messaging feature in YouTube. The only way that I can really talk to you is if you opt in and have a chat with me in the DMs, or if you end up booking a call, which is the other place down here. If you even look down below this call or this video, there's a link to book a call with me or my team. And this will go into book a call and then become a buyer, right? So this is just like a high level overview of how all that works. Now, if we dive a little bit deeper into the exact strategy here, is we can start to see how this works out. So pretty much what we're doing, specifically on YouTube, and I'll kind of dive in here, but essentially we have two different types of videos. We have our YouTube VSL, which is this here, right? And then we also have our pillar videos. So really the way that this works is our YouTube VSL is the way that I want you to think about this is think about your, like you have a product, right? You have a product that you're selling, whatever it is. And so let's say it's like lose weight. You losing weight, right? From point A to point B. So from where they are to where they want to be is there's usually going to be about, I don't know how many it could be, but there's a handful of different things that people are going to need to do in order to achieve end results. So, we'll say current and desired, right? So it's current situation, desired situation. What I want you to do is create pillar videos around each of these of exactly how they can reach their end result. And then the YouTube VSL is actually this entire thing in one video. So again, I'm just going to say this like maybe, and I'll give you guys a direct example of how we implemented this down here in a second. But essentially, the way you want to think about this is your YouTube VSL is let's say, this video could be around, the foundations of losing weight, right? How should you get a blood test, like whatever it may be. And then you might talk about nutrition. And then you might talk about, your specific like weight training program. And then you talk about something else, right? So you would make a full video around all of those things, really breaking them down. And then you would make individual pillar videos around each and every one of these like subtopics, right? Now, how long should these videos be? YouTube VSL ranges probably anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, maybe a little bit longer, maybe less than that, right? Each of these videos probably are going to be around the same length, right? 30 minutes to 45 minutes, because you're in the YouTube VSL, you're taking this, like all these different things, and you are trying to condense them down a little bit. With each of these, you are still keeping them pretty, pretty lengthy, because you're now taking each of those topics and you're expanding more on them because, you're not having to stay within that 45 minutes to an hour. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of the YouTube VSL. Then what you're going to do is you're going to break these down into your pillar video. So pillar video number 1, right? So let's say that's that one. Pillar video number 2, pillar video number 3, or, 2, 3, so on and so forth. But the way that we're going to strategically create this content and pull short form from it is we're going to make this pillar 1 video. You can't really see that because it's the same color, but you're going to take this pillar 1 video and you're going to take out different short form pieces of content from this. Now, I want to be very clear. There's really 2 different ways that you can do this. You can create one short form video, or I'm sorry, you can create, the one pillar video, right? So this pillar video 1, and you can put it into an AI software like Opus Clips, or have your editor, splice different things out of it. The only thing that I'm not really a fan of that structure, or that way of doing it, is you do lose a lot of context, right? You lose context and you lose the ability to get a really good hook within those videos, which are like 2 of the most important things when it comes to creating a viral piece of content. So the way that I do it, and the way that I teach some of our students to do it, is I actually have a ChatGPT prompt where I take the YouTube transcript, right, from the video that we make, and I'll do the same thing with this one. Take this transcript, put it in ChatGPT, I say, hey, and I get, there's a specific prompt that I use, but long story short, I say, hey, in this video, give me 15 short form pieces of content and a really good hook with these. And I just record all these. I record these separately. I record these as standalone videos because they're going to outperform the repurposed things that you like have an editor do or Opus Clips. It's going to outperform it every single time because it has a good hook and it's a good standalone piece of content. And then again, the thing here is from all of these short form videos, and this is where it gets strategic and very intentional, is each of these short form videos, because I'm going over a topic that I would talked about in this pillar video, is the natural progression for me to give more value to my audience is I'm going to push them through a CTA, right? In this short form video, I'm going to end it by saying, hey, so I put an entire video about this, about a 45-minute video around this entire concept and really going deep into it. If you want that video, comment whatever the video is, right? Comment this word, and then through Instagram automation, I send them the YouTube video, and guess what? Now I'm creating and continuing this ecosystem. I'm getting paid ads to bring people to my Instagram. These people from Instagram are watching my content. They're seeing the content. They're getting a CTA to YouTube. They're going to YouTube CTAs to a book a call, right? So you can see this is all flowing very nicely, right? So basically, and then this happens on every single one. So I get my pillar 2 video, I bust out, and I put 4 here, but realistically, you can get 7 to 10 short form clips out of these videos because these are, a little bit longer, let's say 45 minutes plus. You can get a lot of content from those. And every single one is CTAing back to the YouTube video, back to the YouTube video, back to the YouTube video. And this happens over and over and over and over again, and continuously growing the audience there. So let me give you a kind of a real world example of what this looks like, right? I kind of talked about there in a second, but my last video, or I guess this would be probably 2 videos ago, like this is my YouTube VSL, right? You might have seen this video, but essentially what happens is this video I do at the beginning of all of these videos is I do a CTA to IG to get the document. Now, guess what? I did that earlier in this video. I told you to DM me the word content doc. Well, that's how I'm indoctrinating you. That's how I'm getting you over to Instagram, right? Very meta concept. But essentially, I'm CTAing at the beginning of this video to go to my Instagram, right? So they go to my Instagram, and then on Instagram, I'm also creating these. I'm creating these short form pieces of content. So, realistically, this little thing here, right, that we're going over is basically this. So this video is a short form piece of content from this one, right? So it is, and again, this is a really good hook. At the beginning of this video, I started with like, here's my $3.1 million secret funnel. That grabbed attention. I go over this one specific topic, and then I CTA them to the comments, which you can see here. There's 24 people that commented on this video that wanted the link back to this video. But guess what? Now I have 24 people that are in my DMs that, only a certain percentage of them are going to go and actually, they're going to watch a video. But I have, through messaging, right, through strategic placement, is I'm getting them to either talk to myself or to my AI or to my DM setter. And then a certain percentage of them are booking calls. And from this one specific post, right, this post that has 1.2 thousand views and 12 likes, right? Not a viral post by any means, but this one post generated $17,000. I'll say it again. This account with 13,000 followers, this post with 1,000 views and 12 likes generated $17,000. And it's because I'm being strategic in the way that I'm posting and the way that we're bringing them through this appointment setting process, which we will be going super in depth into exactly how the words we're saying, the scripting that we're using to get these people from simply commenting on a video to get a free thing into a sales conversation to actually get them to book a call. Now, one kind of like, oh man, every time I see this photo, I'm just like, dude, AI is getting crazy. So, I'm going to talk about like the exact, the ad strategy and the content strategy and the DM stuff here in a second. But I do want to I want to really just crush this objection right here. I get this a lot. And there's a lot of people that hit me with this. They're like, Aaron, I do not want to give my content away for free. I don't think I should be giving this away for free. I have these secret nuggets. No one is going to pay me. And I just don't want to do it. I don't think I should be creating content. So really what happens when you create content, I'm just going to squash this because this is a very scarce mindset. Actually, we're going to get so intense with it. I'm hitting it with some red, right? This is a very scarce mindset to be in, right? Because you got to understand that one of 3 things are going to happen when you create content. Number 1 is there's going to be a person that they come in and they do implement what you have, and they're going to win from your free content. I get messages on a daily basis. I mean, this channel at the time of recording this has like 400 subs. We're still generating, tens of thousands of dollars a month from 400 subs. But I get messages all the time of people that are like, hey, like, I implemented your YouTube strategy, or I implemented your system or whatever, and I made this sale, and I made this money, and I signed this client, whatever. So guess what? These people are seeing my free content, they're winning, but then what happens is, because of the reciprocity, right? You've probably heard of the law of reciprocity, is because of them feeling like they need to reciprocate because they got this free value, they end up coming back and they become a client anyway. Which is really cool, right? The second thing that could happen is that they implement it, right? They implement this information, and then because it's so much information, right? Because you over delivered and gave them so much stuff, and this video is probably gonna be like an hour long, because there's so much information in this video, there's this overwhelm that kicks in, right? They get overwhelmed and they hire you anyway to help them implement, because there's so much, right? Even though I go over a lot of stuff in here, I mean, you probably have a billion questions because I'm covering so much, right? You're probably getting value out of it, but it's almost making you feel like, oh my gosh, like Aaron, like what's the specifics here? Like whatever. That's exactly why people will come back and pay you, and why, some of you that might be watching this will come and end up joining one of our programs, right? Now, the third person is, I want you to take a look at this part here, right? This is a headache client, and you're averting, I think this is the right way you spell that. You are averting that situation. But number 3 is that there's going to be someone that comes in, they look at your content, they implement, they win, but they don't see the value in investing with you and jumping into your coaching. And guys, hey, guess what? That's fine, right? I was just getting heated there. I couldn't even talk. Like there's these people. They are going to be like probably the worst client ever, because they're going to have a bunch of questions. They're going to have buyer's remorse. They're going to, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to be the right person for you. And I would just don't even worry about it, right? Like you wouldn't want these people to be your client in the first place. So if you're scared that someone is going to, watch your content and then not pay you, well, that's fine, because the ones that aren't going to pay you, we're never going to pay you in the first place, and they're terrible clients. But you're going to generate a ton of number 1 and number 2 anyway. And the reason why I have this picture here is the way that I want you to think about content is if you're like a baker, right? Or let's say you're going into a bakery. Like, let's say you're coming into my bakery, Aaron's Bakery, Aaron's Micro Bakery. That's a big trend right now. You're coming to Aaron's micro bakery, and I got these cookies here, right? These are my free samples, and you taste one of these samples. I'm not giving you a full one though. I'm only gonna give you a fourth. So you get it. You get this little free sample right here. You get this free sample of my cookie, and it's really good. And you're like, oh yeah, this is actually a pretty good cookie. Like, can I buy more of your cookies? Right? How much more likely are you to buy like a full 12 pack of, I guess a baker or a dozen, right? How much more likely are you to buy a dozen cookies if you taste if you taste and get a sample of the cookie and it's freaking banging, right? You are much more likely to buy a full dozen of cookies because you now understand the value in my cookies. You're like, dang, this guy actually knows what he's doing when it comes to cookies, right? You're much more likely to do that versus if I just kept everything behind the glass, right? I'm probably gonna get less people that buy them because there's this ambiguity there, right? They don't know if it's gonna taste good or not. Are they soft, right? My wife hates when I make cookies and they come out hard. You don't know if they're soft or hard cookies, right? But if you taste it, you're much more likely to do that, right? So if we use the same analogy here, is someone is they're going to taste your cookie and they're going to win and they're going to buy the full dozen, or they're going to, maybe you're going to teach them how to cook, give them the cookie and you say, here's all the ingredients, here's the recipes, here's the steps to do, blah, blah, blah. They're going to get overwhelmed because they're like, oh, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess up, the amount and when to do things and how to do it and whatever, right? So those people are still, even though they might have the entire ingredient list to make this perfect cookie, they're still going to pay for the cookies because they don't want to mess it up, right? So kind of a long way of explaining that, but hopefully that makes sense. So let's jump back into the actual strategy, right? What is the YouTube strategy? We're at 35 minutes in, we're finally getting to the YouTube strategy part of this. So let me break down. So we're looking at the pillar videos over here, right? So we gave this example of the weight loss thing up here. So let's talk about the YouTube strategy. So the YouTube strategy is as follows, and this is exactly what we did when we're talking about, the 4.1 million generated. The majority of the clients actually came through this 5 video series. So when we're talking about this, right, starting with the YouTube VSL. So this video right here that has 80,000 views was my YouTube VSL. So it's a 23-minute long video that basically covered everything that I covered in these 5 videos, but a little bit more condensed. Now, in retrospect, this video probably should have been a little bit longer, but this was like my end-all, be-all video. I could send this to people, and it gave them everything that they needed to do that. So what I really covered in that video is number 1, right? So we're talking about these different pillars that are broken down. So number 1, I talked about, what is remote closing? Number 2, how to find remote closing jobs. Number 3, how to get hired and interviewed for remote closing jobs. What are the best scripts to see success, and how to make more as a closer. So backstepping a little bit, if you're not familiar, basically our RCA, right, Remote Closing Academy, was essentially teaching other people how to be remote sales reps. Now, what you can notice within these videos, or maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but each of these videos basically build onto the next video. So, what is remote closing? After someone understands, okay, I'm now introduced this idea of remote closing, the next logical step for them is, okay, well, cool, I can make $10,000 a month. I take these calls for people, but like, how do I find these remote closing jobs? Well, guess what? That's the next video in the series. And then they go through, here's how to find them. You go to LinkedIn, you go to Facebook, you go to blah, 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 right? Here's how you can find them. But what's the next logical question? Well, the next logical question is, okay, got it. But like, how do I actually okay, I now know where to find them. How do I get hired? How do I get interviewed? Well, guess what? That's the next video in the series. So if we're looking at this, right, this video, number 1, was about remote closing, right? What is the breakdown of it? What exactly is it? How to find these jobs, where to find remote closing gigs in 2025, right? How to get hired. Basically, in this video, I talk about 3 ways to stand out as a remote closer to make sure that you do get hired, right? The best scripts. I'm giving the exact best appointment setting DM scripts in 2025, right? Copy and paste my strategy. And then I'm talking about, passive income with remote closing, how to make more. So each of these videos really strategically goes into the next. Now, I want you to understand 2 very important, or I guess 1 very important thing here is, well, I guess 2, is these videos, as you can tell, this is not, right, important thing number 1, these are not videos positioned as a playlist, right? This is the thing that a lot of people get wrong, is they think like, oh, Aaron, I'm making like this scaling playlist or my weight loss playlist or whatever. Now, technically, on YouTube, yes, they will all be put into the same playlist, but to the audience, it's not positioned as like a playlist, watch this video, watch this video, watch this video, is they are positioned in a way where every single one of these are going to be its own standalone video that can perform well by itself. Right. So this video here, it's like the audience doesn't have to know about the rest of these videos, but this will stand alone by itself, right? Remote closing, full breakdown 2023. This is going to stand alone by itself. Now, so the first thing is the playlist thing. The second thing is these are positioned and, more importantly, packaged, right? The titles and thumbnails are by itself. This is not, how to start remote closing part 1, how to start closing remote closing part 2, part 3, whatever, right? It's just not positioned that way. Now, the other important part about this too, and where this gets really strategic, is by the time someone goes through these entire videos, each of these, if you add up the time, right? This one's 23 minutes, you have 13, 16, 10, 23, 13. So this is like over an hour, like close to 2 hours long of content, maybe closer to like an hour half of content. The natural progression after this is going to be to book a call with me, because they've already spent an hour long doing this. And by that time, they're like, well, dang, like I have all the information, but now I need to go implement it. Or I can go get Aaron's help so that he can walk me through the entire process and make it really, really simple for me, right? So through that, the way that you strategically bring them from 1 to 1 to 1 is by using the verbiage at the end of the video to then strategically push them to the next one. So for example, in this video, I'm talking about, what is remote closing on this video. At the end, I'm not going to say, all right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to click the subscribe button, like the video if you liked it, and, we'll see you next time. No, what I say is I finish off my last point and I say something like, hey, so now that you understand exactly what remote closing is, the next logical question that you have is like, okay, where do I actually find these jobs? Well, if you click the video on screen, it's going to bring you over to my entire 20-minute long video where I show you where to find these jobs and what messages it sends to make sure that you land them. So click the video on screen and we'll see you over there. Right. So it's like basically the way that I position it is this video that they just watched. Oh, that was an eraser. This video that they just watched is literally pointless until they watch the next video. And you probably guessed it. It's the same thing that happens from here to here. right? At the end of this video, they go through and I tell them, here's what you do on LinkedIn, here's what you do on Facebook, whatever. And I say, so now you understand exactly where to find these jobs. It's actually gonna be really difficult to land these positions and get hired unless you understand exactly what to say on these interviews. If you click the video on screen, it's gonna bring you over to my entire video of how to do that, right? Same thing from this to this. Hey, so now that you understand exactly how to get placed and how to join these positions, yeah, it's actually gonna be really bad for you, and you'll probably get fired if you don't understand the exact step-by-step scripts to use on your conversations to not only make more money, but to make sure that you can stay on the team long term. So click the video on screen, we'll bring you over there. All right, that was a little bit long, but you can see kind of the point of bringing every single one to the next specific video. And not only does this build like from an internal trust standpoint from your prospects, but this is also really, really good for YouTube, right? YouTube looks at this as like, oh man, this person is watching a bunch of this person's videos, right? So it's increasing your watch time, and it is going to, it's going to increase your watch time. So then YouTube is much more likely to send your videos to more people, not even in your ecosystem that are completely agnostic and outside of it. It's going to push more people to your channel because people are watching these videos. So again, I want you to just really think about like, okay, what is my main VSL? What are the 4 or 5 steps? And I put 5 videos here. It could be 4 videos. It could be 7 videos. Just depends on how much time you wanted to put into that, right? And one other thing, I actually don't think I covered it here, but I will just break this down for you really quickly, is the other like really awesome part, or really awesome thing this does for you is, people always say like, well, Aaron, like what happens after, like, obviously there'll be other videos after this, but the kind of other way that you can use these videos is, if you think about it, these a lot of times are like your frequently asked questions for your videos, or maybe objections or whatever it may be. So now either you or your sales team have 5 videos or 4 videos or 7 videos that you can use as either pre-call or post-call material to really build up the authority for yourself. So for example, let's say you're having a DM conversation with someone or through email or whatever, and they just like, they're not clear about a certain process and how it works, right? You can send them these videos to then really build up that authority for you. And it just gives them more opportunity to come back to these videos, watch them, and build that trust with you, right? And the cool part about them being on YouTube versus, let's say, like you put them on a landing page or it's in an email, like email landing page, it just screams marketing, right? It screams like, it screams marketing. Like they feel like they're in this like sales process, versus if you're just like, hey, like I made this YouTube video, go check it out. Like it just feels less intrusive through YouTube. So just another thing there. So I want to put this here, how to get short form ideas from Instagram. Again, I use some very specific prompts and some AI tools that I do this. But the easiest way that you can do this is literally all you're going to do is, once this video is done on YouTube, is you're just going to, and I did talk about it a second ago, but you're just going to throw this into ChatGPT. And you're just going to say something like, hey, take this YouTube video, give me 15 short form examples with a really good hook at the beginning. That's pretty much all you're going to say. And then it's going to pull some from there, and you just want to add your CTA and all that type of stuff. So, if you want my help and you want to work directly with me, if you just DM me the word, if you just DM me, I'm in, 2 words on Instagram, this just helps me like cycle through it a lot easier. If you DM me, I'm in, doesn't matter like the cases or whatever, just I'm in on YouTube and or on Instagram, and we can have a conversation of how I could potentially help you out. So let's talk about the last thing in here, and and we'll kind of finish it up here on this video. So last thing here is through paid ads. So if we're going back to this system right over here, right, we talked about the organic reach, so that's just by posting the content, but the paid advertising, what type of ads are we actually using to get people into our ecosystem? So there's really 3 different ads that we use. We have a direct ad, we have a follower ad, and then we have currently existing content. So these are all like boosted on Instagram. It's very, very simple. You can start with like a $20 to $50 per day budget. Is this mandatory? No, this just really expedites the process, and you can hit goals a lot quicker. Just because, to be honest, like short form content is not, it's not as easy as it used to be to grow. But when you can kind of like pay to play into that, it makes your life a whole lot easier. So there's really 3 different types of ads that we use. We use a direct ad. So the direct ad, it could literally just be a photo of you that just says something like, and the framework here is looking for X amount of audience to end result in time frame. Like that's really the whole structure. So it's like, I'm looking for 10 moms that want to lose 20 pounds before summer. right? That could be a way to do it. Looking for 5 people that want to make $10,000 a month in the next 60 days, right? You do want to be careful about like claims and stuff like that, but that's basically the structure of it. And then you would do DM me start, and I'll walk you through how it works, or DM me whatever keyword. So you're basically showing up on their Instagram timeline, and then you're giving them a DM keyword, and then you start the conversation, right? Follower ad. So the follower ad is basically the structure is like, hey, if you're this specific type of person and you're struggling with this, and this, I can show you, or, I post a lot of content on Instagram that allows me to benefit. If you want to learn how, drop me a follow, right? So we're not only getting direct people that are like, hey, come work directly with me. We're getting more followers, right? We're saying, hey, if you want this free content, then come follow me. And then already, this is a weird screenshot. I just realized it. But this video anyway got 21,000 likes. It was one of my better performing videos. I think I had like 700 or 600,000 views, something like that. But we boost already existing content that works well, because the cool thing with this is it's already proven, right? So if something is proven through organic means, right? This was 100% organic. If it's proven through organic, it's going to be proven as well through paid advertising. So really what I'm doing is I'm hitting people with these 3 ads. Each of these run for anywhere for 20 to 50 bucks a day. 20 to 50 bucks a day. And we're generating conversations. We're generating followers from anywhere from $1 to $2 per follower. And we're generating conversations from anywhere from, we'll say 50 is kind of big. So I'd say we're generating conversations for about $15 to $50 per conversation, depending on the market, right? If you're more B2B, you just expect a longer conversation. A higher amount per conversation. If you are a little bit lower, or if you're more like B2C, right, lower price points, or so more B2C, kind of like health and fitness and that type of thing, you can expect a little bit on the lower scale from that. But what happens is, as we're going through, we're getting the direct people that are already ready, the follower people we're adding to our ecosystem, and the existing content, which gives them a little bit of a sneak peek of what they can expect, is every single one of these people are coming to the Instagram page, right? They may be following, they might direct message or whatever. And then one of two things are going to happen. Either this person is going to follow and continue to watch the content, which then starts, I'm trying to make like the recycle logo, is that starts that kind of like ecosystem where they watch content, they see a CTA, and they go into the DMs, right? So they're going to either watch the content, or they're going to go to the DMs, or they go from the content into the DMs. And then they're going to have a conversation with the AI or the DM setter. So actually, I put here, if you want to actually test out my AI, I haven't never done this before. I've never said this publicly, but go to back to my Instagram that you might have DM'd earlier already, and DM me this 2 words. DM me test bot. Now, I want to be clear here. Don't try to, like, you can try to break it if you want to, but the whole point of you just testing this out should be to see, like, I think it's pretty good. It's setting about 2 to 3 calls every single day from this system specifically. So just like act like a prospect, go through it. It'll prompt you to, like, when it actually starts, but it won't be me in there. It'll just be completely AI. So test that out. And the other reason that you want to do that is because you want to see the types of questions that are being asked, so that you can use that same structure in your DM setting process. Right. And then through that, right, asking a couple questions. So to give you a high level, right, when the conversation is started, basically all we're trying to do in the DMs is ask 3 things. Number 1 is we want to figure out current situation. Number 2 is we want to figure out desired situation. We want to figure out pain point. Those are really the main things that we're trying to figure out in these conversations over the DMs, right? So they send the DM in. It's like, hey, so, what is your current struggle for me, right? What is your current struggle with growing your business right now, right? Because I want to figure out, like, what is the pain? What is the gap? Why are they even there in the first place, right? I want to figure out, okay, got it. So, like, just so I have an understanding, like, what is, like, where do you want to be? Like, what is your ultimate, goal in terms of revenue, right? What is your money goal? Oh, I want to make $50,000 a month. Okay, got it. So, like, help me understand, like, what is your current goal? Or I'm sorry, what is your current, current money, right? What is your current situation? How much are you making right now in your business? Oh, I want to do 50, but I'm only making 10. Okay, got it. So, and then again, what is that pain point? Or, what do you feel like is holding you back from hitting that point? And then based on the answers to these questions, right, I'm going to then go into book the call, have a conversation either with myself or the closer, and then they are going to, a certain percent of them, like I said earlier, about 20 2% of those people are going to turn into a client. And really the way that you should look at it is, if you can get your close rate, whatever your close rate, even if you have a close rate of 15%, once you have this number, it becomes so much easier to scale your business because you have the certainty that no matter what, if you just do everything else within the system, you're going to convert a percentage of the people through. So then obviously the answer becomes, or the question becomes, how much am I willing to spend on ads? How much content am I willing to produce? Oh, where's my content thing? Right? How much content am I willing to, I lost it. How much content am I willing to produce, right? How much time am I willing to put into that content to get to a point where, with the analogy earlier, how many shots am I willing to take to ultimately hit the end goal that I'm wanting to? So what I want you to do is you can actually, obviously I covered this high level. I'm going to make an entire video. If you click the video on screen, it's going to bring you over to, it's going to be probably a 30+ minute video around our exact word for word DM setting process, how to get people engaged, how I'm actually setting up the AI, how all this stuff. You can click the video on screen, check that out, or you can click the first link down in the description, book a call with me or my team, and we'll walk you through exactly how we can get this implemented for your business so you can start converting more people, generating more sales, and hitting your first 100K per month with content. See you guys in the next one.